All right, so today we're going to be talking about our second module, which is environmental indicators. To start off, I'm going to show you a series of photos from a specific region in the world, and I want you just to think about these questions and briefly write them down in the Edpuzzle. Where do you think this is in terms of the world? Whoops. What is causing these processes to occur in terms of the photos and the things that are happening within these different images? And how do you think we as Americans, Vermonters, developed countries are involved with these crises? So to get us started, here's our key concepts for the modular overview. What are the 5 different indicators for environmental health? And what is the relationship between development, resource use, and ecological sustainability for humanity? There's a couple of thinking questions that I want you to consider as you have read Module 2 and you explore these ideas more in this video. So what are environmental indicators? An indicator is something that indicates anything, obviously. And in the world of ecosystem studies, environmental indicators are really specific data points that tell us something about the health and relative change within an environment. So it could be population, temperature, rainfall, soil moisture, threatened species, etc., etc. So all of these different indicators sort of give us a report card and a measurement of how ecosystems are responding to human and natural interactions and system changes. And it really tells us something about the health. Good website right here about Vermont's impacts and indicators. So the 5 key global indicators that we're going to talk about are biological diversity, food production, average global temperature and CO2 concentrations, human population, and resource depletion. All of these have some recent trends in terms of how they have changed and what those changes mean, how they likely will change in the future, and overall, what is the impact on our environment and its quality. Again, really degraded or unsustainable environments aren't good for humans. So biological diversity really can talk about a whole host of different aspects of diversity. We can talk about genetic diversity in terms of the different alleles at a certain gene. We can talk about species diversity in terms of how many species occupy a forest. Or we could even talk about the different ecosystems within a state or country. Here's the thing that we need to know. More diversity means more resilient and more robust population, species, and environments. When we have decreased biodiversity, that's when we can start to see either problems within the environment, or it might mean that there are underlying environmental issues. To give you some examples, mountain lions used to be very popular in Vermont's ecosystems, but changing environments, we deforested a lot of Vermont, plus active hunting led to a decreased population with a less diversity that ultimately led to extinction. Similarly, now the moose population in Vermont is experiencing a huge decline due to climate change and increased tick density, which is having really big repercussions on their ability to survive and reproduce. And we can even see this within humans in terms of the average number of Lyme disease cases reported in the state of Vermont over time. All of these different problems are the result of some ecosystem crisis or degradation. Now, food production is a bit of a more specific parameter to humans, but it really is important when you consider available resources, i.e. fertilizers, water, and also land, to produce food, where we're really concerned with calories, proteins, and vitamins. Now, over time, humans have gotten really good at farming. So this is the amount of wheat that we can get from 1 hectare of land over time. So usually back in the medieval times, 1 to 2 tons, all the way up to 8 tons now. So with modern technology, we've rapidly expanded our ability to produce food. However, the amount of land that we're able to use is running out, and there's really big concerns about the pollution and energy needed for this output and what it means for biological diversity. Some good links for how you can reduce your carbon footprint via food. Third biological parameter that we're going to be really concerned with is average global temperatures and CO2. Now, as we'll talk later on in the year, the Earth's atmosphere traps heat from solar radiation. I'm making a video, sorry. That was Ms. Wells. She was asking for help. Now, increased CO2 temperatures has paralleled average temperatures. We can see the average mean change in the past 120 years. And this is leading to really dramatic ecosystem crises like the wildfires in the western coast, but also abrupt changes in climate as well. We will see continuous problems with both of these as they both increase. And here's a good link to Vermont's climate goals. The main thing that you really want to know is that increased CO2 does not just mean warming, it means changes in climate, weather, and ecosystems, which impact the first three indicators that we talked about. Now, human population is also exponentially increased in the past century. 200 years ago, humanity was below the 1 billion marker, and now we're close to 8 billion. Current trends in terms of people moving to cities versus rural life, industrial development, and material consumption all mean that ecosystems and environmental systems are going to be strained to provide resources, space, and land, and also filter or cope with increased levels of pollution and runoff. The scary thing is this: a majority of the world's energy and resources are only used by a minority. The United States is approximately 4% of the world's population, yet we are in the double digits when it comes to land use, water pollution, air pollution, resource consumption. Yikes. So things need to change. And then finally, resource depletion. So resource depletion talks about using natural resources for human development and human goods. Our actions influence the resource extraction, but also influences the hydrology, the geology, the climate, the biosphere around us. The strain on development and material growth that countries often want to increase wages and lifestyles for people often leads to poor environmental practices. And as people continuously shift in the global population towards development and urbanization, we're going to see those resources get more and more strained. Now, at the beginning of the slide, I showed you some photos, and those photos were of the Congo, which is sort of Africa's equivalent to the Amazon. And there's a whole lot of deforestation and land use changes happening there because of poor political and ethical management. There's a civil war that's been happening in that region, and there are external actors, international companies and countries that have huge demands in their developed markets for trace minerals for EV batteries. So indirectly, our demand for green energy is causing a huge environmental crisis that many of us are not aware of. That brings us to sustainability. Now, sustainability means that development of human goods and human systems must balance out the good and the sustainability of environmental systems. We need to account for something that is both environmental, economic, and social, which leads us to sustainable. Currently, the United States ecological footprint is not sustainable. If we continue to use energy and resources as if other countries could, we would need more than one Earth. So if everyone had the lifestyle of a United States citizen, we would need approximately 3 Earths worth of resources, space, and land for everyone to use that lifestyle. So here are some really easy ways to reduce your carbon footprint. So, in a nutshell, we have 5 different indicators that all tell us something about the health of our planet. We know how those things have changed and will change and what that means for Earth. I hope you guys are a little bit more aware of environmental indicators now.